What is going on, folks? So, last night or this morning, I finished putting the clutch and flywheel on the B20, and I was pretty confused about why this clutch kit came, or the hardware for the clutch, the pressure plate came with washers for the bolts, and so I had already put everything together to the ARP studs, like instructions or recommendations or whatever, and I just couldn't let it go. So I called them this morning at like 7 or 8 in the morning. It was like, all right, before you put the flywheel on, you got to get your pilot bearing in there. I'm so used to buying Zeddy clutches Zeddy stuff. They always come with the pilot bearing already pressed in. So I just use a rubber mallet and keep it face down with some cardboard. And basically you're just going to want to check to make sure that there's no gaps. Everything is flush with the face. And now we can install. Alright, so one quick part that I kind of wasn't going to do, but I read it up online, and they say just to follow the instructions that come with the ARP studs because they're different. So I am going to apply the assembly lubricant to the head of the bolt right at the top there, and then just a couple drops of Loctite on each one of these bolts. So do that and then torque everything down to finger tight, and then begin the torquing process in a crisscross pattern. Alright, now that everything's tightened down, I'm going to go ahead and torque these down to the 95. So I didn't have a torque wrench that went to 100 pounds except for this old school one. So I'm assuming it's going to be off a little bit, but at whatever it's at, I've never torqued down anything that tight before, ever. That was just insane. So next up, we're going to clean off the surface here of the flywheel, and then we're going to install the clutch. It was like 8. And basically they have these washers because their bolts have this like little bit of like an edge to them. Bolts have like this little edge to them at the very top of the bolt there, right underneath like that ridge, like around the top of the head of the bolt. Right underneath it, there's that little edge, and I guess they use these washers, and these washers have a beveled edge to them, and so they have to be installed a certain way. So I didn't know all that, and that means that I have a bunch of bolts that are torqued down on here with washers that may cause everything to fail, I assume. So I have to redo this. Alright, now to see if I did this for no reason. This one looks like it's flat. This one looks like it's flat. Ah! I didn't do this for no reason. Great. If you look, you can see this side has a beveled edge to it, and it's not flat, which means this this bolt would not be seated properly. So good thing I took the quick little 5 minutes to take this back off. Now I'm going to put everything back together properly, and we will see what's good. And since I did have a Loctite on there, I'm just going to go ahead and hit with some brake cleaner and this wire brush, make sure I get all the Loctite off so I can have a clean surface to apply the fresh Loctite. Alright, I got them all cleaned up and I got new Loctite put on them, and I guess I can throw the pressure plate back on now. So that should be perfectly fine now. And I'm really glad I went and redid all this, because 3 out of the 6 bolts were not properly seated.